Excited for the challenge this week in front of our fans down there Saturday. Huge challenge with this Saints team coming in here. A really good football team. I have a ton of respect for Coach Allen and his staff and their players. They present all sorts of challenges offensively. They really can run two different offenses. You can have Andy Dalton in there, maybe a little bit more traditional, but he's playing at a very high level, making great decisions, delivering on time and accurately. And then you have Taysom Hill, who you have to defend that offense. And sometimes they're on the field together. Sometimes it's one of them at a time. So you really, really have to be about your business and understanding who's on the field, what they're getting to, and really making it a rules game in a lot of ways for us on defense. But a very, very difficult matchup. They have good players all around. Obviously, Kamara, still a huge threat out of the backfield, can do it all. The young receiver is playing really, really well for them. They're throwing him a ton of balls in all areas of the field. He's doing a nice job. Obviously, they have Jarvis, who we all know how great a player he is. So they have a bunch of good players, and they're very well coached. Defensively, Coach Allen running that side of the ball, and they do a really good job. They play very, very hard, very, very physical. From the front end to the back end, they're very physical. The two edge players are special, just unique physically, play hard, make plays in the run and the pass. Just a ton of good players all across the front and the back end. You have, Matthew, who's a ball hawk and just a really good player. So a bunch of good players there on defense. And then special teams is a challenge. Really well coached. Have a returner now, a dual returner who has speed. So we really, really have to be great in our preparation this week, get to know this team. Another NFC South opponent that is, haven't faced them in a little while, so getting to know them is a very big deal. But with that, I'll take any questions.
Forecast for Saturday impacting game planning, play calling, as you get ready for the game.
Yeah, I think, weather's a variable that we all deal with. Obviously, we deal with it at home. Similar conversation prior to the Buffalo game when we didn't know if we were playing there. So it's always things that you take into consideration. But until you get down there and understand what the elements are, you have to wait until that becomes apparent.
So really, you'll get there Saturday and then okay, this is what we're probably going to have to do in this game.
I mean, you look at the forecast, so you know what they're potentially calling for. But I think you also got to make sure that you're ready to pivot in game.
Do you bring it up with guys like this early in the week?
We do. We talk about it, but we don't control it.
Nick, on the injury report, what's going on with him?
Yeah, we're going to hold him out of practice today, but he's rehabbing.
Has that been bothering him long, or?
No, something that came out of this game.
You to play Saturday?
Hope so.
Necessarily know how much snow there's going to be, but it looks like the temperatures are going to be dangerously cold. So I think that's something that you can kind of work on ahead of time. What do you do about that?
Yeah, I think just awareness, Mary Kay, knowing what it may be down there, having a plan. But again, the weather, it's an element, it's a variable that we have to deal with. Both teams have to deal with it.
Ethan's designated for return, so do you think there's a chance he could be ready to go?
I do.
This time of year, does the field goal team go down to the stadium?
They do.
How many? One day?
Usually once a week.
Thursday?
I think they're down there today. Yeah.
Went down with the injury, was playing at a very high level, it seemed like. How big would it be for that line to kind of bring it all back together to get him back?
Yeah, again, he's trending in that direction, but got to see him practice first, I would say. And then, Yelda's done a nice job in there. He's really played well for us. So if it is Yelda, again, we're excited about that because he's playing well. If it's Ethan, we're excited about that. He was playing at a high level, playing very physically for us prior to getting injured.
Yelda gotten more comfortable. I mean, that wasn't his natural position, coming in before.
Yeah, I mean, he had played center in college, and it's something that he really hadn't done with us and maybe much in the pros. But when you have a smart player like you do in Yelda, a physically gifted player, once he got the reps, the game reps, the practice reps, I think you really saw him hitting his stride.
When we talked to Nick earlier, he didn't mention his foot, but he talked about how the blocking with the line and the receivers especially improved in that game with the Ravens. What happened to make that?
Yeah, Nick's right in that it takes 11 guys to get a run game going. Everybody's got to be involved. The quarterback has to be involved in carrying out his fakes, even when he's not blocking somebody. So I thought the guys did a nice job across the board, tight ends, wide receivers, like you mentioned. And that's what's required each week, because each week it feels like you're running into some very difficult fronts, difficult looks, and those type of things. And I thought in the last ball game, guys really strained to finish.
League in fourth quarter rushing. Is there something about him that allows him to be maybe the strongest at the end of the game?
I don't know. I would tell you, obviously, he's very determined. He's a very physical runner, but he does not like to be denied.
When you first got here, what were your first impressions of Jarvis? And kind of what did he mean during the years he was here?
Yeah, I feel like we just over the years talking about Jarvis, just what he brought to our into the building, into the locker room, game day. I just always marveled at him pushing through injuries. Sometimes wasn't near 100%, but fought through it, played, took a hit, got back up. Just a very, very tough physical football player.
Facing Hill, like, how do you handle a guy that feels like he's unique to kind of every other team in the league, how they use their guys?
Yeah, it's really interesting. They do a nice job. He can line up at quarterback, at running back, at tight end, at a wide receiver type position. He plays all the special teams for him. So he's a weapon in his versatility. He does everything well. He's a very, very physical runner. Doesn't run like a quarterback per se. He runs like a fullback. Can throw the ball to all areas of the field. There's no limitations to what he can do in that regard. So it presents a huge challenge. And then not to mention, you defend him as a quarterback and he can just line up and block. So they do a nice job. I think you utilize him in a very, very smart way. And it's credit to them. They're using, a really versatile football player.
About the midway point of the season, you guys have had one of the best defenses in the league after playing pretty poorly, through the first few weeks. It's kind of been the opposite for the offense, where you rank so highly in efficiency, and that's fallen, in the week since. What do you make of that, where each unit is not playing well at the same time, from a consistent basis?
Yeah, obviously, like we've talked about in the past, you're looking for consistency from your football team, and then within the units, you're always looking for consistency. But sometimes it can be a few different things. It can be opponent-driven. It can be just certain things that you're doing offensively, defensively. But those are the type of things that we focus on week to week in practice. This week, making sure that we're consistent in all three phases.
Be ready to go
Yes.
this week, but you got some reps out of Dalen Baldwin and Michael Woods. Even with David coming back, would you like to use those guys some?
Yeah, well, I think it's a great credit, Mary Kay, to that room, to Chad O'Shea, to Callie, how they prepare the young players to be ready to go. Dalen Baldwin is a guy that we have a ton of confidence in and faith in, and he knows what to do, and he makes plays when the ball came his way. You mentioned David Bell, you mentioned Mike Woods, guys that have given us valuable reps. So we'll see how it shakes out this week and the remaining weeks, but it's always important to have dependable football players.